Well, welcome Pablo Dominguez, welcome Milan Sekulović on Pangea. We're here today to talk about something extremely interesting. In the past years, the international attention has focused on environmental and climate problems involving thousands of young enthusiastic people around the world. The United Nations Climate Change Conference in November 2021, COP26, also involved a great number of our students from all over the world. So it seemed that the safeguard of the planet was secured. At least we all hoped. But it's not exactly what is going on. And we are here to talk about the beautiful, untouched plateau Sinjajevina on the highlands of Montenegro. This area is to undergo the same tragic destiny of Sardinian Salta de Quirra between Cagliari and Nuoro, that since 1956 has been used as a shooting range by military united forces and caused huge health problems to the nearby population. Now, Pablo Dominguez, you are an eco-anthropologist, environmental biologist, and sociocultural anthropologist. My God, it's really complicated. Can you tell us something about the peculiarity of this area and what's going on?
My name is Pablo Dominguez. I'm dedicating to the study of this area for a few 3-4 years now, coordinating a European co-funded and French National Research Agency funded project about this territory from an environmental and social perspective. And what I say quickly is that Sinjajevina is enormously important because it's a huge limestone plateau, over 400 square kilometers in area, which together with Dormitor makes almost more than 1,000 square kilometers, which means the largest mountain pasture in the Balkans and one of the biggest in Europe. It provides home and livelihoods to over 250 families of mobile pastoralists, transhumants, and that means about more than 4,000 people directly living from it. But still around it, there are about 22,000 people living. So directly or indirectly, this territory is giving livelihoods to over 20,000 people. For hundreds of years, the interesting thing about this is that for hundreds of years, this place, and in fact thousands, has been managed and governed and used sustainably by herders and farmers that have governed, protected and cared for this grassland as one would protect his own family, in the sense that their life depended on it. And the landscapes we have today there and the biodiversity has co-evolved with them and is product of their activities, without which it would disappear. It is organized, the system, as a cluster of different pastoral commons, so different little communities who are responsible for the creation of these landscapes. And the result of their work has been recognized as a biosphere reserve, as Sinjajevina is within it. And at the same time, it's a protected EU Natura 2000, protected EU 2000 Natura 2000 area, because as you know, Montenegro is applying for candidacy to the European Union. This is also an important plant area, an emerald site by the Berne Convention, and neighbors not only one, but 2 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So the value of the place is clear, and its value, it's in great measure due to the people that are living there. I could go on, just let me know and I'll expand a little bit more on this, but basically the situation in which we found ourselves, I went to this place because it was precisely such a unique site in the Balkans and precious from many points of view, also a scientific one, to understand how come these pastoral communities were still discussing between them about what are the rules and the pastoral behaviors that they should undertake in order to go on taking the maximum of this pasture land without damaging it for the future. And so I went there to study this marvelous, still ongoing system that is slowly disappearing in Europe, but are recognized by the most important, they're valued by the most important international agencies like UNESCO, the UN Environmental Program, UN Development Program, the IUCN, which is the biggest world environmental protection organization. So I went there because it was the best place in the Balkans almost. And then I found myself that despite Sinjajevina's unique status and being protected even by the greatest density of protected areas in the country, itself had been the target of a over 300,000 euros EU co-funded study to create a regional park. In 2016, the study finished and it was supposed to be declared by 2020. Suddenly, while I was doing my study, I found out that NATO was catalyzing the inauguration of a military ground that happened, in fact, in 2018, where they dropped over half ton of explosives along with USA troops and Italian troops and Slovenian, North Macedonian, against thousands of signatures posted and without any substantial negotiation with local pastoralists, without making a single environmental, health, cultural heritage, or economic impact assessment available to the public scrutiny. So this is basically, how territorial planning should not be done, right? You got everything in place to get a protected area, and suddenly, without any explanation, any studies opposing the previous ones, just by decree, a military ground is created. So yeah, opposed. I'm sure Milan now will explain you more in detail the social movement that I'm just observing and basically giving advice and consultant
helping in.
But I think it's very interesting to speak about because there's also a whole political thing going around that area that goes beyond this more down to smaller scale kind of things that we can speak about later. Something else I wanted to add is this fact that Montenegro was moved from a post-socialist Yugoslavia to, at the beginning, approachment to Russia, supported Serbia during the ex-Yugoslav wars, and also in the case of the bombardments in relation with the Kosovo war and later independency, but slowly started to move away from Serbia, first taking independence in 2006 and moving on towards the West and quickly applying for EU candidacy. It joined the NATO also in this westernization of the geopolitics of the country. So it did so without asking its citizens, because in fact, most probably it would have been tight, if not to say lost, a referendum to join NATO, because there was not many people favorable in Montenegro for this, in the sense that the wars were too near in time, and NATO did not. I mean, this still does not have very good press there, but it's evolved. But at the time, it had even worse press. So meaning that it was kind of forced in 2017, and just a year later appeared the first rumors that the military ground was going to be created in Sinjajevina, and in 2019 it was declared. So again, these thousands of signatures against and protests that started. So all this links with the east expansion of NATO, and it relates to the Ukrainian war that is happening now. That, as we all know, some of its origins or links are related to this eastwards expansion of NATO, and Russia kind of trying to justify his war because of this expansion. And in a country, Montenegro, which is half Russophile, or not half, but it's got a good bunch of Russophile. It's got a very strong Russophile history. It's like the big ally of Serbia and Montenegro and others in the region was always for over a century Russia. So the country is Slavic, it's Orthodox. Russia is like the big Slavic orthodox nation that can guarantee those traditional values, let's say. So there's a game there being played with the United States expanding in the country, its influence, and also the Western countries with the EU, and different ways that are encroaching into the country, forcing a little bit into the country, I'd say, and this military base, it's at the end something related with all that is going on there. And it's a base that is very interesting to go on moving eastwards. And so this is something that's come above these poor farmers that are in the middle of a huge kind of new Cold War between Russia and the West. And, they're getting a base on top of their pastures because, like in Kosovo, there's an American base and Serbia is next door who, is kind of favorable to Russia. Even during right now, the war between Russia and Ukraine, there's a lot of supports, not anonymous, of course. So this base is much more than a base. And these poor people are caught in the middle of all this that's happening. And the biodiversity we've got in there and cultural heritage that we got in there. So I think it's important we flag up all this and say these big giants of global geopolitics, hey, please, Goliath, you're stepping on David. Stop this, please. I think it's very reasonable for any researcher, citizen, or anybody acknowledged about the situation to call for peace in the region and for a reasonable solution.
Good. Milan Sekulović, you're a journalist, but you are coming from Sinjajevina, so you know very well the problem. And you also are the Secretary General of this Save Sinjajevina Association that started in 2018. Now, tell me, why did you have to found this association? Tell me the reasons for it.
Yes, in the meantime, I become the president of organization, so I'm
excellent.
not anymore. Yes, and yes, why we start with organization? Problem start 4 years ago when we have first rumors about the military training ground on Sinjajevina. That was in first time unofficial information, but on 2019, the government of Montenegro create official decision and establish military training ground on Sinjajevina. And in the same time, we become also official organization, and we are a group of activists, but also we are a group of a local community. First of all, we have a people from six municipalities in Montenegro. That is the people from another towns, and all of them use the Sinjajevina like a pasture. So we create this organization to protect our mountain because we live there and we own everything to that mountain. For example, I finished college and in Montenegro University, and I become the journalist. But before of that, I was sheep keeper. So I would do with cattle. So I have some debt to pay to my mountain. So my duty and the duty of all of people of Sinjajevina is to protect that mountain because that mountain gives us a lot. That mountain gives us everything. So we cannot give that mountain in the hands of enemies of the nature. So we must protect that area because we think that is not just important for Montenegro, that is important for whole Europe. And also we are the part of UNESCO Biosphere Reserve. And so we are also World Heritage. And in the same time, we want to be the part of European Union. And we want to bring something valuable in the European Union. We think Sinjajevina can provide the food and milk products and be a great touristical destination for Europeans. So we are on the mission to protect that and give to European Union something valuable. So because of that, we started this global campaign, Save Sinjajevina campaign, and we have a petition, global petition, and we called people from around the world to support us in our fight. And we ask from European Union to stop negotiation with Montenegro about membership until Montenegro protects Sinjajevina. Also, in the same time, from the government of Montenegro, we ask to cancel the decision about the military training ground. We are standing strong about, in opinion, we cannot coexist with military training ground. One time, the military of Montenegro with soldiers from another NATO troops drop up half a ton of explosive on the mountain, and we have one hell day on Sinjajevina that day, and we don't want that anymore. Last year, we have a big protest, 2020, we have a big protest of 51 days when military tried to bombing again our mountain. And we go on the mountain and spend there 51 days, and we was human shield for the mountain. And we are on the mission, and we only compromise is to cancel the decision about military training ground, because we want healthy Sinjajevina, not we want territory of life on Sinjajevina, not territory of death and destruction.
I see. I remember that during a webinar, some of you too probably, mentioned the fact that when Montenegro accepted to go to enter NATO, there were a group of officers. Among them, there was an Italian officer who came up, saw the beautiful plateau, and they decided to make a shooting range over there. Is that true?
I think yes, we have a lot of military experts, and they say that is a good area for military shooting. But also, when we speak about that story about military experts in our country, in Montenegro, 15 years ago, the military experts also say we don't need the army at all. So I cannot believe that experts when they say, okay, it's great to bombing out one mountain. We think it's we must protect something, not just bombing.
Up until now, have you had any success in your campaign to protect this area?
Yes, we have a success because in last years we don't have a military actions on the mountain. They tried.
So they stopped. They stopped.
Yes,
doing it.
they stopped coming. So we have that is small success. Because they trying to do something, but we are there to prevent any destruction of the nature on Sinjajevina, and we will keep do that because we have one mission, and that is mission of protection. So we strongly hope from a government of Montenegro they will be smart and be democratic and think about on the people and cancel that ridiculous and crazy decision about military training ground. We want to provide food for Montenegro, and we think that is the only way how we can use Sinjajevina. In past time, we have a lot of sheep, a lot of cows. Now that is number is smaller, but because people go to the towns, and state don't provide support for agriculture, and we think it's better to invest in agriculture than in military training ground.
I don't know if I may add just something briefly on this.
Yes.
Point of success and the end part that Milan was talking about. There is cutting it short, basically last December 5, 2020, in the midst of sub-zero temperatures and very hostile climatic conditions, the communities prevailed after 51 days. This is what you were asking, Jenny. For 51 days of a protest camp set up 2,000 meters high by local community members and rights groups, and they resisted until the Ministry of the Defense decided to announce that they were going to reassess their military ground plan. That was huge support from also thousands of signatures from international organizations and citizens world. And this was celebrated. It was immense celebration because it was very hard conditions. They were not being heard by their government until that point. But most feel that this is just a temporary reprieve because they insist on their initial demands that have not been met yet. And that's the main point, which is two. One, that the decree law is issued, canceling the previous one of 2019, which created this military ground. So of course, the word of the new defense minister or anyone that comes after, it's excellent news, but it's not it's a valid declaration of intentions. But people think that this just will remain as wet paper if it does not become legally binding, because you just need to change government, and then the place is still officially a bombing ground, and they could bomb and be legally protected, which is so they're not interested just in halting, which is what they achieved in 2020. They want now that it's legally binding, forbidden to throw any more bombs over there on their homeland. And the second point is that they don't want just that, they want to be promoted. They don't want just to take that off, but they want now to use this opportunity to be promoted and through a decree law that creates a protected area co-designed and co-governed with the full participation of local communities. And this is what can push them forward. Their pastoral activity, their food production that was Milan talking about, with unique gastronomic jewels. It's like if we were bombing mozzarella before it became famous, but the potential you have in Sinjajevina is outstanding in every sense. And these 2 points are the ones that they're still missing, and they're seeking to reach with this new campaign this year that they're launching with lots of efforts, growing. This is like a snowball, it's growing, and it's just moving alone. And Milan is, with all his team, surfing that wave. It's huge, and we believe this year is going to be even bigger than 2020. Well,
great. I think we're just going to talk about this for the first time in Italy, and I hope around the world. And I hope this video will help a lot. So thank you so much for participating, and we'll be in touch. And maybe in the future, you'll come back on Pangea to discuss about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.